You won't notice her right away. She doesn't seek the spotlight, doesn't ask for affection, doesn't even blink when you're watching. And that's exactly what makes her dangerous. It's not noise that draws you in, it's her silence. The calm, the quiet gravity of someone who knows her power and doesn't need to show it. Jung wouldn't call her evil. That's too easy. He'd call her an archetype, a living symbol pulled from the darkest corners of your unconscious. She is the anima gone rogue, the feminine blueprint men carry inside their minds, projected outward without knowing. And if you're not aware of her power, she doesn't just steal your attention. She consumes your soul. She's the woman you should run from, but you won't. Not at first. You'll call her mysterious. You'll romanticize the distance, mistake it for depth. You'll think her silence means something sacred is happening. But really, it's your own psyche turning in on itself, crying out to be seen. What you're drawn to isn't her. It's your own unfinished story echoing back at you. That's what Jung tried to warn us about, not just in relationships, in ourselves. Because to face that woman, you have to first face the one living inside your mind. This isn't heartbreak. It's something quieter. It's soul loss, like a part of you is slowly bleeding out. And truth is, it is. The part of you that thought love had to be chaste. That intimacy should feel like tension. That closeness must come wrapped in fear. That real love means longing, not peace. You see, she wasn't dangerous because of who she was. She was dangerous because of who you became around her. You bent. You performed. You started orbiting around her moods like a dying planet around a sun that didn't even notice. Your masculinity twisted into a tightrope act. You walked on eggshells, praying not to lose a connection that never even had roots. Because unconscious love isn't love, it's illusion. And the anima is the most seductive illusion of all. But this is your threshold moment. You're in the underworld now, what Jung called the shadow realm. Not a place for comfort, a place for confrontation. You met the woman you should avoid, not because she's cruel, but because she's unfinished. She's not whole because you're not whole. She represents every piece of emotional nourishment you never gave yourself. Warmth, softness, safety. The kind of love you never received and never learned how to give to yourself. So you gave it away. You projected it onto her. You made her divine, then cursed her when she didn't act like a goddess. But here's the truth. This isn't her work. It's yours. To take back what you abandoned, to stop chasing shadows, to stop calling a mirage a miracle. Jung said, projection ends where ownership begins. So ask yourself, where are you still begging for love from someone who doesn't see you? Where are you mistaking neglect for passion? Where are you calling silence mystery just to avoid your own emptiness? This isn't about her. This is your soul's rebellion, a revolt against emotional starvation, because the woman you keep chasing is a stand-in for wholeness, for mothering, for a version of masculinity that never needed to earn love through suffering. But now you've seen the pattern, and once you see it, it loses its grip. If this hits something real, subscribe, because this channel is a space for men who are waking up from illusions, waking up from wounds. And if you've ever met this woman, you've already crossed the threshold. Now it's time to walk out of the dream. And yes, you still think about her, not in full sentences, just in flashes. A look she gave you once, a message that never came, moments where her presence felt like destiny and punishment in the same breath. But you don't miss her. You miss the man you tried to become around her, the man who contorted himself silently, desperately, just to taste her approval. And that man, he deserves better. Jung called it ego inflation, that tragic moment when we mistake symbols for truth, when we assign sacred meaning to someone who was never built to carry it, and yet here you are, still tangled in the web, still whispering to yourself, was any of it real? Let's not lie to ourselves. Yes, something was real. The ache, the longing, the spiral of self-analysis at 2 a.m. But what you thought was love was projection. You didn't fall for her. You fell for a hidden, aching piece of yourself, wearing her face. And the cruelest twist? The more she ignored you, the deeper you believed she was the one. Because only the wounded boy inside you would mistake avoidance for value. She wasn't love. She was the echo of your emotional abandonment. And here's the trap. The woman every man should avoid doesn't always look like a red flag. She might be graceful, calm, soft-spoken, even spiritual, but beneath it all, something doesn't land right. She doesn't really see you. She sees what you give. She sees what you mirror back. She sees your hunger and feeds it in crumbs, just enough to keep you starving. And if you're unconscious, you'll call that love. But real love, it doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't punish your honesty with silence. It doesn't ghost you when you're open, only to return when you stop caring. That's not love. That's trauma dressed up as desire. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And that's exactly what you did. You called her fate. You wrote poetry about the timing, the chemistry, the cosmic synchronicities. It all felt too deep to be coincidence, right? But here's the truth you've been dodging. Just because something feels intense doesn't mean it's right. Sometimes the loudest feelings come from the oldest wounds, and you mistake that pain for passion. You mistake anxiety for electricity. You mistake her emotional distance for divine timing. And that's where the real damage starts. You begin to shape-shift. You dim your light so she doesn't feel overwhelmed. You swallow your truth so she doesn't walk away. You wait for messages that never come. You replay every conversation, dissecting each word like it's scripture. But this isn't love. This is identity erosion. You shrink. You soften. You become agreeable, quiet, compliant, less you. Because deep down you think, if I'm just perfect enough, maybe she'll finally choose me. But here's the dagger in the heart. She was never choosing you. She was choosing control. And now you're addicted, not to her, but to the version of yourself you became around her. A spiritual mimic, a placeholder, an actor in someone else's play. You were never loved. You were used as a mirror for her boredom. And Jung would say, this is the moment where individuation begins. The tearing apart of false identity, the brutal birth of truth, the painful separation of your soul from the illusions you wrapped it in. But be warned, individuation is brutal because it demands that you finally admit you were never really in love. You were lost. You were in need. But need isn't love. Need is hunger, spiritual, emotional, ancestral, dressed up in romance. Let's go deeper. There's a reason you felt pulled to her. She wasn't just any woman. Somewhere in the archives of your emotional body, she reminded you of someone. Maybe a mother who only loved in fragments, Maybe a first love who made you feel invisible. Maybe the part of you that still confuses chaos for chemistry. You didn't choose her. Your nervous system did. And now you're waking up because the one woman you should avoid isn't just her. It's what she symbolized. She's the woman your unanchored self chases, the siren pulling you deeper into your own shadow. She represents the void, the mirror of your unmet wounds, the part of you that equates silence with mystery, coldness with depth, inconsistency with magic. She is the anima unintegrated, Jung's trickster. The dream woman who feels divine, but disappears the moment you speak your truth. She opens you just enough to make you bleed, then vanishes. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to see what's real. You stop loving her. You start chasing the feeling of her. And what is that feeling? Longing, tension, emptiness. You became addicted to almost loved, almost seen, almost chosen. Because almost reminds you of home. Not the home where you thrived, but the home where you survived, where love had to be earned through pleasing, through fixing, through apologizing for your very existence. And this is where the masculine begins to collapse. You stop leading from your soul. You start breadcrumbing your own self-worth. You calculate your value like a salesman. You love from fear, not from fullness. But here's the brutal healing truth. You don't want her. You want closure. You want to matter. You want to prove that the boy she overlooked was enough. But listen to me. She cannot give you what she doesn't have. She's emotionally malnourished. And now, so are you. That's why it hurts. Not because you lost her, but because you lost yourself trying to win her. And this right here, this is your turning point. You have two choices. One, spiral deeper into projection, chase her ghost, blame her silence, romanticize her absence. Second, or first, begin the descent into your own soul. Second, stop asking, why did she treat me like that? Start asking, why did I stay? Why did I believe that pain was love? Why did I feel unsafe in my body and stay anyway? And when you sit with those questions, not with rage, but with stillness, the illusion starts to fracture, not with hate, but with grief. You grieve the fairy tale, you grieve the fantasy, you grieve the man you were, soft, desperate, reaching, and you honor him. Because he wasn't weak, he was just trying to come home. But now it's time to find a new home inside yourself. This is what Jung meant by integration, not killing the anima, not exiling her, but facing her, owning what she awakened in you, your nurturing, your creativity, your tenderness, your emotional depth. These aren't things you need to seek in someone else. They were never hers. They were always you. They were already in you, your softness, your sensitivity, your depth, not broken, just buried, not missing, just asleep. You were never waiting to be chosen. You were waiting to awaken. Because the one woman you must avoid, she was never your enemy. She was your mirror. And now that you've seen her clearly, you're no longer blind. There's a silence that arrives after awakening, not the lonely kind, not the empty kind, but the silence of clarity. It doesn't ache. It doesn't scream. It just whispers, you gave too much. You chased a ghost. You turned a wound into worship. And for the first time, you step off the stage. This is the part Jung never romanticized, the empty hallway between illusion and transformation, where the woman you once placed on a pedestal begins to fade, not with rage, not with resentment, but with quiet knowing. She was never meant to complete you, and you were never meant to shrink for her. This is individuation, not the death of love, but the funeral of a false self. You stopped being the boy who begged. You stopped being the man who performed. You stopped being the ghost who haunted the echo of almost. And in the quiet that follows, you become something else. Not louder, not bolder, just whole. But the ego hates wholeness. It craves drama. It worships the chase. It loves the story of a man forever reaching for something just out of reach, so he never has to look within. Because here's the truth you didn't want to touch. This woman wasn't a villain. She was a beautifully crafted distraction, a myth your mind invented to protect you from a more painful reality. You don't feel worthy when you're alone. She wasn't breaking you. She was shielding you from the question you were too afraid to ask: why do I feel unworthy without someone else's attention? Jung said, we must hold the tension of the opposites. You wanted love. You feared abandonment. You craved soul-deep union. You resisted losing yourself. You reached for her because you hadn't yet returned to you. It was never about her. It was about your fear of stillness, your inability to sit with the softest parts of you, the ones that felt unseen, unchosen, unloved. That's the truth no one tells you. You didn't stay because she was extraordinary. You stayed because she triggered the exact version of you were still ashamed of. The needy you, the insecure you, the tender you. And you thought, if I can just win her love, then I'll finally be enough. But enough is not something you win. It's something you remember. You were always enough. You just forgot. She didn't destroy you. She revealed the cracks. And now you see them. You've stepped back. You've untangled the web. You've watched the fantasy dissolve. And still there is grief. Let it come. Don't run from it. Let yourself mourn, not for her, but for the version of you who loved from emptiness. The man who dimmed his truth, softened his edges, waited for replies, and called that love. He wasn't weak, he was wounded, and today he's free. No more apologizing for your depth, no more bargaining your worth, no more twisting yourself into someone easy to swallow. You're done chasing symbols, you're reclaiming truth. The anima, that inner feminine, isn't your enemy. She's your compass, but only when you see her clearly, named, honored, not projected onto someone else. She lives inside you, not in her silence, not in her mystery, not in her chaos. She's in your creativity, your dreams, your intuition, your tenderness, your vision. She's not the woman who ghosted you. She's the quiet whisper you ignored when you got hooked on being chosen. The moment you take back your soul, stop outsourcing it to strangers wearing familiar faces. That's when you truly wake up, not into power, into peace. And peace? That's the one thing she never gave you, because peace can't be seduced. It can't be chased. It can only be embodied. You're not a chaser anymore. You're not a victim. You're not the boy still asking why she didn't choose you. You're the man who has chosen himself. Jung would say you've stepped out of the collective trance, the spell of illusion, the archetypal trap. Now, the world looks different. You don't crave drama. You don't miss tension. You don't romanticize uncertainty. You don't need her to see you. You see you. And that, my friend, is the ultimate integration. The one woman you were told to avoid. She was never out there. She was always the part of you that forgot you're already whole. No absence, no silence, no rejection can ever take that away. The story's over. The spell is broken. The mirror shattered. Now you walk forward, not to find her, but to meet you